Can you like this film? The film starts and we see a general. There, his wife was in great trouble. She was quite afraid and she was calling the general loudly. Actually, a monster was chasing her and it was a mermaid monster. He sees the general's wife and takes her into the water. After taking her into the water, he eats her. Watching this, the general becomes quite ragged. He immediately throws his giant rod at the monster. Meanwhile, the general wakes up and he learns that whatever he has witnessed till now was his dream. Actually, a long time ago, general's wife was killed by the monster. Later, the general leaves to find that mermaid to take revenge for his wife. Actually, he was finding the mermaid while standing on the ship. Meanwhile, he finds that mermaid. That's why he asks his companions to attack the mermaid. The surpassing fact was that no one could see the mermaid except the general. After seeing the mermaid, the general becomes ragged. For this reason, he jumps into the water to catch the mermaid. After reaching into the water, he reaches into a different world. Reaching there, he asks the mermaid to encounter him there. The mermaid approaches the general and she was quite pretty. In a while, the dress of the mermaid transforms. As a result, she begins to look more pretty. As the general goes to attack her with his rod, mermaid, after using a spell, sends him back to his world. On the shore, the general was found unconscious. Later, when the general restores his conscious, he finds a red shell in his hand. After taking that red shell, the general comes to his master. He then shows his master the red shell. While showing him, the general tells the master that these kinds of shells are only made for monsters. That's why I don't think so. This has come from the sea. I'm going to tell you a secret. The sea hospital that is located near the sea. There, a giant monster has been seen before many years. I think this shell belongs to him because its color is red. And the color of the monster's body was also red. That's why, kindly master, grant me the token to check the sea hospital, and the permission as well. But the monster doesn't give him permission or token, because he knew that the guard of the hospital and the general don't have a good relationship. The master knew that if he goes without any proof to check, as a result, the guard will become quite ragged. After listening to the monster, the general becomes ragged. He threatens the master that if you didn't give me the permission and the token, then I'll go forcibly with my friends and companions there. As a result, the master has to give the token to the general. Later, we witness the general riding on a horse, with his companion reaching the sea hospital. After showing the token, they enter in the hospital. And after reaching inside, the general shows this token to the guard and tells him that I want to check this hospital. I want to look for it. And after hearing this, the guard sends his soldiers with the general to visit the full hospital. Later, the general tells a soldier to take me to the monster, whose body is red, and that is called Red Monster. The soldier takes him to the Red Monster. After reaching there, the general sees that the monster has been kept unconscious by magical spells, and the monster has the same red shells. After seeing him, they all return from there, and the companion of the general tells him that after 3 days, there will be a prayer for your forefathers and family. For this possible reason, the mermaid wants to deviate your attention. But the general clearly refuses to accept this, and as a result, the companion of the general asks, if it isn't the matter, then why didn't you tell us about that? The day when the mermaid had met you. The general gets caught in thought after hearing this, and he tells his companion that the day I went after the mermaid, I reached to a separate world where I have found the mermaid. I asked the mermaid, which place is this? Which place I've reached? The mermaid responds that you've reached to Mermaid Fantasy Island. Not only this, the mermaid told me that I've not killed your family members, and the mermaid showed me that red shell. Before the mermaid could tell me anything else, a male mermaid reached there and tried to attack her. For that mermaid there, I encountered a male mermaid, and I've beaten him a lot. When she witnessed that the male mermaid is dominating me, then by a portal, she excited with me. After knowing this, the companion of the general doesn't believe in the mermaid's words. That's why she tells him that probably that mermaid wants to control you by her words. It is also possible that she'd made that red shell with her magic. In the next scene, we see the guard of that hospital. The male mermaid approaches him and tells him, because of that general's family, all of my companions died. Among them only I'm the survivor. That's why kindly help me so I can take revenge for my companion's death from the general. Later, the male mermaid tells a tale to the guard. When I was the only survivor and I was wandering alone, while searching for the mermaid, I reached an island. There I witnessed that the mermaid was trying to control the general. Along with this, the mermaid told the general that I didn't kill your family, rather the red monster of the guard who lives in his hospital. Then the general was repeating the words of the mermaid. And the male mermaid, has attacked that mermaid. The mermaid then used her magic to make the entire island vanish. Later, the male mermaid tells the guard that the mermaid knows magical words, but the general doesn't know about this. Later, the general tells his companion that, in the prayer ceremony, many of the guests are going to arrive. For this reason, I'm going to our villa. There, the general goes to see that mermaid. Arriving there, the general tells the mermaid that your family has killed my family and my forefathers. Despite this, you didn't attack me, and you didn't harm me. And for that reason, I want further you to stop hurting innocent people. After listening to this, the mermaid tells the general that our families didn't like each other from the start. Despite this, when the general saw the little mermaid, in the childhood, you didn't tell about me to your family, because if you told your family about me, they might have killed me. Since then, I used to notice you secretly. While telling about this, the mermaid says that I know you're a good person, and I know that you were quite happy with your wife, and I've seen your good time. Hearing this, the general blames the mermaid, that you're the one who had killed my wife. But the mermaid clearly rejects that I haven't killed your wife. In a while, the guard and the male mermaid arrive there, and they attack the mermaid. And after seeing this, the general asks the mermaid to go and he begins to fight with them alone. Later, we see that the mermaid hasn't gone from there. When she was going to attack them, the general stops her and forbids her from doing this. Later, the guard and the male mermaid, after beating the general, kick him into the water. Later, they take the general in control and directly take him to the master. The master becomes ragged on general. He becomes angry with him. He tells him that your family and forefathers have promised to support the king. But what you're doing because of that mermaid, repeating the mistakes. Later, the guards inform the master of his idea to punish the general. After accepting his idea, the general was tied up on the seashore, with the help of ropes with heavy strength. There, after tying him up, they pull the ropes greatly. They pulled his ropes till the general got fainted. Later, a few of the people come to beat the general. When the mermaid comes to know about this, she immediately comes there to save the general. Later, she takes the general with her into her world. There she absorbs all of his injuries on her body. As a result, the general recovers, but the mermaid sustains all of those injuries on her body. When the general restores his senses, he goes to the mermaid. He sees her body. There were marks of the injury there, but the mermaid tells him not to worry for me. I'm fine. Later, the general makes her prisoner. Although, he doesn't want to do this, but he had to do this because the master has ordered him to do. But he was quite heartbroken inside. Meanwhile, the guard and the male mermaid arrive there. They begin to torture the innocent mermaid badly. In the next scene, we see the mermaid, the general, the guard, and the male mermaid. All of them were going on a seashore. The general finds his companion's hand in the soil there. His hand has the same red-colored shell. After watching that, he becomes quite shocked. He then walks straight to his master, and he tells him that I have carried out your order. I've seized that mermaid, and now she is in jail. But the master ignores him and doesn't pay much heed to him. He then departs to say the prayer for the forefathers. The next day, the master takes the general into an alone room. After going there, he tells him that this is the place where the graves of your family members and forefathers are buried. Therefore, you must say the truth in front of them. He asks the general, do you already know the mermaid from childhood? There, the general tells him, yes, I've seen that mermaid in childhood, but I was unaware of her true identity. The monster later informs him that only your family members could kill the mermaids, because no one else holds the power that you all do. That power is positioned in front of your rod, which is blue-colored. The mermaid has a heart protection placed near her heart. Only that rod can remove that protection. When that protection will break, the mermaid will shed tears from her eyes, and her tears have an ability. With its power, anyone can become immortal or everlasting. Meanwhile, on the other side, we see that the male mermaid, he was telling the same thing to the guard. Meanwhile, after listening to this, the guard, after mixing poison on his meal, kills him. So, the male mermaid couldn't tell this anyone. Master forces the general to kill the mermaid before the prayers of the forefathers. After doing this, you can take the tears of the mermaid. Later, after this, the general comes to the mermaid. After arriving there, he learns that master was absolutely right. That protection actually was placed close to the mermaid's heart. The mermaid asks the general to kill me immediately. Don't be delayed. As the general was a good man, he couldn't kill her. He feels pity for her, and in the meantime, the guard arrives. He provokes the general, and as a result, the general reacts, and he attacks the guard. In the next scene, we see the general approaching the master. He tells him while showing the red shell that I've found this red shell from my companion's hand. It is evidence that mermaids are innocent, that she has not killed anyone and she is flawless. When the master hears this, he locks the guard in the jail. Despite this, the master forces the general. Whatever it is, you'll go there and gather the mermaid's tears and you'll give it to me. Wherever the mermaid may or may not be criminal, I only need the tears of the mermaid. As the master goes from there, after his departure, the general sets the mermaid free. He opens her. After doing this, he immediately puts her into the water. After going into the water, the mermaid restores to normal. Later, the general tells her that I didn't know the fact of tears before. That's why please if I've ever hurt you, kindly forgive me. Here, the mermaid offers the general something, that you can bring your entire family and reside on my island. But the general clearly rejects this and tells her that I know how to help myself, and I'll help myself. Later, both of them enter that hall where prayer was being offered. After coming there, the general witnesses that the entire general's family has been captured by the guard and have made them prisoners and was killing them one by one. Seeing this, the general becomes quite ragged on the guard. As he goes to attack the guard, an old man stops him. He says, "My son, don't do this and kill this mermaid. I'm the member of your family and your forefathers have been doing this since the start. Therefore, fulfill your responsibility and kill the mermaid." Along with this, he tells the general that your family and forefathers are watching you from heaven, and they're getting heartbroken to know that you're accompanying the mermaid and are not killing her. After listening to this, the general tells him that you and I have been kept in deception for many years, because mermaids aren't our enemies. Our forefathers killed the mermaid for their own benefits, so they could get the tears of the mermaids. Later, all the people who were present there, they attacked the mermaid. During this, the guard attacked the general. There, a fight starts between them. The people of the general's family were killing the mermaid. There, the mermaid attacks a man to save her. Seeing this, the old man from the general's family makes him understand and tells him, "My son, listen to me carefully. And monsters don't care for anyone and they don't belong to humans. Similarly, they've killed numerous people in this way. For this reason, your forefathers have attacked them and killed them." Hearing this, the mermaid invites the general to come with her. But the general doesn't go with her and stop there. Here the old man was provoking the general to kill the mermaid. But the general doesn't do this and asks the mermaid to go from there. Along with this, he tells everyone if any of them have tried to kill the mermaid, so you'll have to kill me first before her. Suddenly, the guard comes and begins to destroy the graves of the general's forefathers. Later, after giving a tool to the mermaid, he asks her to wear that, but the general forbids the mermaid from doing this, from wearing that tool. But the mermaid doesn't listen to the general and wears that tool. Later, she locks herself in the chains and becomes quite sad for this reason. She tells that all the mermaids could only once shed their tears on the ground. When mermaids shed their tears on the ground, after that, they can't transform themselves into humans. They eventually transform into monster mermaids and live in this manner. While saying this, the mermaid sheds tears on the ground. Later, we see the general was about to go from there. Meanwhile, the guard attacks him. The mermaid discovers this and goes to confront the guard there to save the general. Arriving there, she begins to beat the guard badly. Meanwhile, the master arrives there and he threatens the mermaid. "If you kill the guard, I'll end up all of your family." But the mermaid doesn't listen to him and she finally kills the guard. Here, we see a flashback scene. There, we see the guard has already been killed, and the one who was in guard's appearance was actually the male mermaid. Later, we see the mermaid after taking the general from there. She has taken him to a seashore, and she becomes quite concerned to see the general faint and injured. She becomes quite sad that she begins to cry loudly. Later, she, after transferring all of her powers to the general, becomes powerless. On the other side, we see the master has one tear of the mermaid. As he was going to use it, the general arrives there to stop him. After seeing him, the monster falls into his feet and begins to seek forgiveness, but he cleverly attacks near his heart. But because of the power of the mermaid inside the general's body, the master couldn't harm the general. Watching this, the master becomes quite shocked. Later, it comes to know that this man wasn't actually the master. Rather, he was a red monster who'd killed the master along with the family of the general. It means the mermaid was quite right. Here, the red monster tells the general that I was actually accompanied by the guard, and we both have decided that the master will become the red monster. Later, the guard will become the general. Hearing this, the general becomes quite ragged. For this reason, he attacks the red monster. A fierce battle stars between them. Later, the general ends the red monster after attacking him with his rod. Later, the general prays for his forefathers. This film ends with this. Thanks for watching the video.